Welcome to the Dreamcast Podcast, where you start the journey to make your dream a reality, become the greatest version of yourself, and discover your purpose. My name is Daniel Bazinski, and I'm excited to bring you today's show. Every week, the Dreamcast will bring you practical tips, steps, and interviews from influential leaders, successful entrepreneurs, and business professionals living out their dreams from around the globe. Our guests have discovered their purpose and are constantly making an investment into their greatest asset, themselves. I believe your dreams are priceless, and if you're looking to make an investment into yourself but don't know where to begin, then start the journey today by joining me at danielbazinski.com. Thanks for tuning in now. Let's get started. Well, thanks for joining me on today's Dreamcast, where you learn from the greats and see what you have in common with them. The Dreamcast Podcast allows you to access the most significant minds and lives in the universe, those that are making a difference and moving the world forward like never before. My name is Daniel Bazinski, your host for the Dreamcast Podcast. And on today's show, we're going to be talking about how to believe in your own ability, how to use your past experiences to push yourself forward, and how to use what you've been given to change the world. Now it's time to introduce today's guest. Today's guest is one of the world's top investors and philanthropists. Born in Malaysia and growing up in Australia in a middle-class household, she moved to the U.S. at the age of 19 with only $200 in her pocket. Today, she is the head of Sabin Group of Industries, a private investment firm specializing in media, entertainment, and the communications industry. Her investment career began in Silicon Valley as a venture capitalist during the 90s, with experience investing in more than 20 technology companies, including Sycamore Networks, Inc., PayPal, and NetScreen Technologies. Our guest is a passionate giver, pledging $10 million to tsunami victims in India and Sri Lanka, and donating $1 million to help start the world's first heart research center for South Asians. Her nonprofit, STREE Global Investments in Women, is aimed at changing the way low-income and at-risk women and children worldwide see themselves and their roles in society. And she has been changing lives around the world for 15 years. Inaugurated by Bill Clinton and Jordan Queen Noor, STREE has helped 3 million people since its start in 2001. She was named Entrepreneur of the Year by Businesswomen Network, Philanthropist of the Year, Ambassador of Peace, and also holds the Mother Teresa Award. She blogs about the importance of good relationships between women and how together women can change the world. She believes women are the future, and she is passionate about empowering every girl, including her own daughter. She has a heart to help people, using her experiences in abundance to transform people around the globe. Malini Saba, welcome to the Dreamcast.
Well, thank you for having me today, Daniel. And I've never heard anyone talk about me that way. It gave me goosebumps.
Really? Well, you know what? It's my moment to brag on you. I think that often individuals that are living a significant life, they don't talk about themselves because they're so focused on changing others. And so, yeah, it's an honor to brag on you.
Thank you.
Well, to start off the show, I'd love for you to share some history of where you were born, where you grew up, and a little bit of what your childhood was like, just to give context for individuals tuning into our conversation.
Well, I was born in Malaysia in '69, and to a middle-class family, and I have one sister. We migrated out to Australia when I was very, very young, in order to give us a better education. And I guess for me, you know, my parents really had to work very, very hard, and it kind of taught me that nothing comes easy. If you really want something, you really have to work hard. And I think my dad, when we moved out to Australia, actually lost everything, because Australia at that time was going through a very, very much of all-white policy. And so he really had a very, very difficult time settling into the country, which I didn't realize when I was young, because when you're young, you never notice these things. Life is always,
right,
you know, a magical place. And so we pretty much lost everything. So we had a very, very, very hard childhood. And as I grew up into my teens and, you know, had to really work a couple of jobs to be able to make sure that, you know, we covered our school fees, we had, you know, food on our plate, and, you know, with a dad who was really going through emotional hardship, I would say, because of the changes. I grew up very quickly. I had
Right.
to really be, because being the oldest, coming from a culture where as an older child, you are responsible for your family. So I had to really, be creative, work and study and make sure that I was successful, because I had a younger sister that I had to make sure went through university and also got educated. So I
Wow.
guess that started the journey. And for me, I really believe that women can do anything. We are multitaskers, that we can, if we set our mind to something, we will make sure it happens, because it's much harder for us, and it has been. I know I
Yeah.
sound like a broken record, and a lot of women say that, but it is. It's a different place when you're a woman. It's not as
Yeah.
easy.
Well, it totally is. And that's my passion, is to host just as many women as I do men on the Dreamcast, because women are powerful. They have every capability. Just lately, we had this large event, and I talked about the fact that it should be illegal for women to not have equal rights on every level in every area of society. It should be illegal. It's like racism. You know what I mean?
I agree. I agree. I think that we should in 2016 be having the same pay rate, or
Yeah.
even more, because we we are multitaskers, and we don't have tunnel vision. So there's a
Right.
huge
Right.
difference with the way we manage. Yeah.
I'll tell you what I love about your life, Malini, and I know you're going to share more of your story, is despite the odds, despite you went and did it. You didn't wait for the system to treat you right. You went and made the life you knew you had to create.
Yes, I don't believe we should be handed anything, because when you get something for free, you never appreciate it. I think it's very important to know who you are and believe in yourself. And it is difficult. I'm not saying, sometimes the world seems like it's falling all around you, and you feel that you're collapsing, but you need to have the strength inside to say, look, I need to be able to put food on my plate and keep a roof over my head. So what do I need to do to be able to maintain that and sustain that? And if it gets bigger and better from there, that's a blessing. And I think
Right.
that has been my sole motivation. Yeah.
So good. Well, you came to the U.S. for the first time having $200 to your name. That blows my mind. Like, that's what you had. First, what emotions were you feeling? And then second, talk to us a little bit about what was going through your mind, the thoughts, and how you saw your future in that moment.
When I landed, I was just excited I was in the United States, and all I could think about was, Disneyland. Yeah, I was 18. So, and I think that, $200 was a hell of a lot of money at that time. And I don't think I even, realized what was in front of me. But I had a boyfriend who was studying at Stanford at that time. So who later became my spouse. But when I arrived, and he too was poor. I mean, he saved every single cent to go to university, because, it wasn't handed to him by his parents. So when I landed, it was like, oh my God, okay, now what do we do? How do we kind of function? And, we had to catch the bus back to Palo Alto. And then my job was okay, how many jobs can I get in order to, to be able to breathe, and then put myself through school after that.
Wow.
So that was basically what was going through my head. Yeah.
That's a lot.
But, the funny thing is, I, got some babysitting jobs, and I decided to start a cleaning business, because it was the best way to make money. And there were a lot of people in the area, and a lot of houses on the campus, and even outside in Menlo Park. And so I started a small little business, which, I could do while I studied. So,
That's great.
and it didn't kind of, yeah, and it kind of grew from there.
When everyone listens to your intro and hears the juggernaut businesswoman that you've become, the entrepreneur, And it's so cool to hear you say like you started babysitting.
Yeah, I did.
It's
I
crazy.
still remember the first kids. They were twins, and I remember I was, I think I must have been 18 plus or 19, and I thought, oh my God, what do I do with these two? But from there, I think I had 4 or 5 babysitting jobs, and I enjoyed it, and I learned about the families, and it was. I try to enjoy everything I do because I think if you don't love what you do, even if it's cleaning a house or, making beads, if you don't love it, or make it like a hobby, you will never progress, I think, because you're just going to be unhappy about it on a day-to-day basis. So
Right.
I've always tried to make everything that I do, even if at that moment I know it's not going to be exactly what I want, I'm happy to do it. And I look at the best side of it because
That's
it's
good.
the only way to go forward.
Right. Well, I love that because you just celebrate every season, every phase. Looking through your story, I would love for you to share exactly how you did it. So I know that's very hard to package your life. But if you had to share, like, how did you go from a net worth of 200 to a titan of business and philanthropy? Like, what were some of the practical steps or moments, if you would say?
Um, it came as, it's like a puzzle that you kind of put together. I wanted to, my background is psychology, and at that time I loved psychology, but it wasn't something that drove me because I wanted to use the other side of my brain, I guess, a little bit more. And I couldn't get into the, all boys network. It was the early 90s. I didn't have the right qualifications. I wasn't an MBA, and I still am not an MBA. So I thought, okay, how do I do this? And I had actually done some jobs on the side for some early startups, and I had some shares, and I thought, okay, because I always took shares instead of pay because I needed the experience, and the only way people would hire me is if I didn't take money. So I ended up cashing all that, putting it in a little pool, and saying, okay, no one wants to hire me. Let me start something, and then let me, connect with others who are starting companies and learn it as I go. And I learned. I'm not an engineer, but I understand people, and I understand what people require to build something, and I just learned as I went along and invested in a couple of companies, and it was a fantastic time in the mid to late 90s. The valley was just so invigorating, and so many bright
Right.
people, and just as they have right now. But it was really fantastic. So I kind of rode the wave. I think there were so many young engineers coming out of every university who had such great ideas, and it pretty much, again, same thing happening right now. It's deja vu, but hopefully we don't go through that, big lull that we did in the early 2000s. But I did that, and, we had quick returns. And one of the things that I've always wanted to do is always make sure that I gave back. I get more pleasure out of that and use my skills to enhance someone else's life. So I started off the foundation at the same time. And again, wanted that to be the forefront more than, the business side. But it was a right time, the right place, and never taking no for an answer, forcing my way through every deal I could possibly be in. And I've still keep that same philosophy, If you say no, I'll just say, why not? And I'll just keep knocking on your door till you say, okay, damn it, woman, just, come in. So that's basically my philosophy. Yes.
Oh gosh, you're giving me you're giving me courage. You're giving me courage.
Never take no for an answer.
Yeah, I like that. No, I really like that. Well, tell us a little bit about that. Tell me a story that, someone said no to you. You got that disappointing emotion hit you, and then you're like, you know what? No, I feel I'm supposed to have this.
I guess it's a deal. It would have been the Sycamore deal. It was really, really difficult to get to be appreciated, I guess, because you're not an engineer, you're not in that loop. But I just kept trying to find a way into that. And I knew a couple of people who knew the founder, and went in, investing into that deal in not the easiest way. But I guess something that would apply to your question would be something that happened just a few years ago, because I kind of shifted into the commodity space, over the last 12 years, and getting into that space, especially the oil and gas, was really, really difficult. And being in Dubai, trying to get a deal done was just like pulling your mullah by yourself. Actually, it was really, really hard.
Wow.
But I just kept knocking on the door of the gentleman who owned the refinery in Sharjah, till he just got so sick of me, and he said, "All right, woman, I will sell you, the 50,000 tons that you require at the price you want," because I just wanted it. I said, "There's just no way you're going to say no to me."
Right, straight persistence.
But I like, and I tend to do that. I tend not to send my stuff. I like to do it myself, because sometimes I feel that they might give up. Because if you really need to get something to take you to the next step, or to open the door into that field, sometimes you just have to do it yourself, because you want it more than anybody else does. Yeah.
That's really good. I really like that, actually. There's something to that. And there's something about empowering others. And I see that, obviously, as many organizations as you run, you empower hundreds of individuals. But there's something about getting it done yourself, because you want it, and you only have a certain amount of time.
Yes, you have a small window, and you cannot miss that window, because when that door shuts, then, it's difficult to reopen it again.
Yeah, that's good. Well, tell me something else you've learned from your past that's kind of you've carried with you today. I think what's interesting, you've been in many cultures, raised in Malaysia, went to Australia, now in the United States. You're traveling all around the world, Dubai, and I'm sure tons of other nations. What's something you've taken from your past that's brought you and carried you to where you are today?
I think, when growing up, I would say growing up, because I got to the Valley early, I was very naive, and the Valley has a very different way of being. It's a very honest place. One of the things that I discovered and learned as I left the Valley and went into the wilderness, as I say, Asia, to do a lot of business, I realized that, people weren't what they seem to be. And I understand business has got its different levels, and I respect that. But I think when you're building, I tend to build all my companies from startup mode. I don't, move like most of the other big companies, because we're not, I don't see us as a very big entity. Everything is always done from ground level up. I discovered that, you can't, when you go into an environment, and because I take the foundation with me at the same time, and you've got to be really careful on how you maneuver through the system, and you cannot do things, very much the clean cut way. You've got to play certain games that, even if you don't like it and it's not true to your soul, you have to do it. But the one thing that came out of it is you don't have to do it the way they want you to do it. You can do it. You can play the game on your rules. And that's one thing that I took away. And I will always tell people that never succumb to how others want you to do something. And it doesn't matter if they've done it, 1,000 years or 5,000 years. If you've got certain moral values and rules and guidelines and boundaries,
wow.
And it doesn't matter what your company
That's good.
thinks, you need to follow that, because you have to do what is true to your soul. Right. Because otherwise you're going to wake up every day and you're going to hate yourself.
That's good.
And life is too short to wake up feeling that way.
That's really good.
I don't care.
Man, that really speaks to me, because you're right. When you're working with different cultures, my dad did a lot of international business at a corporate level, and everyone does business differently. But he, like you said, he had to really shift the culture and really adapt, but all at the same time kind of set new rules and new boundaries in place so that things could operate efficiently and really lining up where he could put his head down on the pillow at night.
Yes, that's right. I feel for him. I know what he went through.
What a balance, right?
Yeah.
So tell me this, when did you know like you were going to be a successful entrepreneur? Like when did that hit you, or has that even hit you yet?
I don't see myself as that. I still see myself as like I'm still starting. I know it sounds really weird. I guess nothing stays forever. Because of the way the market works and life is, whatever goes up has to come down. And there in life, I think you have really good successes, and you also have a lot more failures than successes. And those failures are also successes, right? Because you learn from them and you learn what to do, what not to do, and how to move forward. I still see myself as a startup mode, and I still, live in a very simple way because it still hasn't registered, and I don't think it will register. The only thing that comes out of this that gives me great joy is that I could do a lot of the philanthropy without stressing. Because I would say, okay,
Without limitation.
yeah, I can say, okay, no, this is what we need to do, and this is how we can push. But otherwise, no. I'm doing another startup at the moment, and I'm back at the startup mode. Life is like, okay, where do I go get the money for this, and how do I make this work? And everything else is forgotten.
Right. What an adventure, though. I asked that question for a reason because, again, it's when you host the Minds of the Great, you realize that they see themselves as ordinary people. And that's the reality, is that you, Malini Saba, have created and done what you've done because you haven't even hierarchied yourself. You said, hey, I'm just trying to live my life in a way that I feel I'm stewarding what I'm responsible to do on this earth. And with that comes the successes of what you've done.
Yeah, I think it's very important to always know where we started life and never to forget that. Who you truly are is where you come from. And all these other things that you go through in life, your successes of saying your company did really well, or it shouldn't be who you are. It should be a journey that you're going through, but where who you are needs to always stay true to your core, because otherwise you'd lose yourself. And that is, I think, the worst thing you could do. And then you'd have to come back to this world again, Who wants to do that?
Right.
This should be your only life. So.
Right. That's good. Well, tell me someone who has impacted your life and the journey. You're talking about remembering where you came from in your journey. I love that. Who is someone in that journey for you that has been maybe someone special that pops into your mind and you say, hey, they really made a big investment in my life, whether they knew it or not?
I have a girlfriend who's a psychologist as well, but she's a doctorate in gerontology. I've known her for, over 20 years. Her name is Dr. Gatak. She works at the Stanford Hospital. Someone who, is very, very down to earth and very true to herself. I think she's been one person who, no matter how high, or, what her life has taken, she's always stayed humble, and she's been someone that I could always go to and talk to, and she's been a great role model for me because she keeps reminding me whenever, you get caught up in the nightmare, or I would say the nightmare of, success, because it is a nightmare. It's a whirlwind. It's like a tornado that comes, and you'll find all these people surrounding you who really want something from you. She's always remained because she doesn't want anything, no finances, no nothing. And she's been a solid pillar. I think I would say out of everyone, she's been someone who's made me believe that there are people in the world who are just themselves, don't need much from anybody, but they're just there to guide you and help you emotionally, which is what I think all of us need. I hope that helps answer that. But yeah.
No, that's really powerful. It speaks to me big time, actually. So, I'm 26 years old, and
Oh, you're a
I'm a
baby.
young, I'm a baby, and I have two babies. So I'm a
Oh,
baby with two babies.
wonderful.
One of my girls is, yeah, I have a 6-month-old and a 22-month-old. Me and my wife are really enjoying this time. And, for me, I'm passionate. I've got this zeal. I've got this fire in me. I can't put it out. Even when I'm trying to go to sleep, I have a hard time falling asleep, right? And so I have some mentors in my life that have just,
Yeah, good. That's good.
I have some mentors in my life that have kind of done what you've done.
Yeah.
They don't want anything from me, and I don't want anything from them, but just relationship. And man, aren't those the best relationships?
They are.
They're just,
They give you hope, really. It's you just wake up in the morning and say, "Oh God, there are
yeah,
people out there," because they really don't want anything from you, and you know that you have someone that you can talk
yeah,
to, and who's not going to go and tell the world that you've just come and said something to them. So, which is another thing, which is very important. So,
right.
yeah.
True friendship. That's what you're talking about. And it's interesting. I've been hanging out with some
Yes.
individuals lately that are higher influence in a social realm. And
Yeah.
one of the things that I've felt to say to them is, hey, what can I do for you that no one's ever done for you?
Yeah.
How can I
Yeah, it's
serve
very
your
true.
life and
Yeah.
just do something for you? I have nothing I want to take from you. And you know what they say to me? I've had a few of them tear up, and a few of them say, hey, no one has ever asked what they could do for me.
Because
Isn't that amazing?
because I guess,
That's like,
because they're human, they have the same needs, and you tend to kind of put a shield up, which you shouldn't. And that's the one thing that I've learned is that in the early days, and when I was very young and naive and going through this roller coaster, I put shields up. And what I've learned now in my late 40s is that, don't do that, because you only hurt yourself. So take those shields down and just be a lot more aware of people and trust your intuition,
that's
you
good.
know. And I do that. I do that a lot. I go with my gut, and you can tell good people, and you have those that you really open up to, and then you've got other good people that come and go in your life, and they come for a
Yeah,
purpose.
that's really good.
And understanding that and not knowing that you've got to hold on to them. Yeah, just let them come and go, and it's okay.
I love that. That's really good. So tell me this, what does a
Yeah.
typical day look like for you? For those that are tuning into the conversation, I'm always interested in, what time does someone wake up, and, do they drink coffee, and do they go to a store? Do they read the newspaper? What does a typical day look like in your life?
I wake up at about 4:30. I actually say my prayers and meditate for about half an hour. And then I get going on work and answer all my emails, do my homework, my work homework. And then at 6 o'clock, I wake my daughter up, give her breakfast. I like to sit with her, talk to her, give her a shower, get her changed, and then I take her to school. And I'll spend some time at the school. Sometimes I volunteer at the schools, and then I go back, get myself changed, go to the office, do my meetings, take care of some of the stuff for the foundation. And then about 2:30, 3 o'clock, I make sure that I head out to go pick up my kid. And then I might spend most of my time with, my daughter's always with me. So if I have to go back to the office, she comes with me. If I have to go to a meeting, she comes with me. I don't have help. I never have. She's 7 years old. I'm one of those chronic mothers. I think I just want my daughter with me. So, she sits and does her homework if I have a meeting, and, she's been with me like that from the age of, since she was a baby. When I used to go to the mines out, and, I would take her with me, and I'd explain to her what mommy's doing. And then I'd come home, make dinner. I cook every night. I need my one glass of wine every night. I listen to, meditating music in the evening. I sit and watch my daughter play. And once she goes to bed, after I read her the book, I get back onto doing my thing, which is work and answering my, because Asia would be opened up and answer my phone calls, do that. And I go to bed about midnight.
Wow.
I try to get in one good movie, which is on Kiki. I think I love the public channel, so I always try and watch something on that. But yeah, that's ever since I had the child, I really want to make sure that I think one of the biggest, yes, you can have all these other things, but one of the very most important jobs in the world is being a parent. And if you screw that up, you've created a child that's going to have the world is a wicked place. And so we have to give them right tools. And they can learn those tools by observing you, knowing, what you do, and spending real quality time with them. And I think that one of the things I would love for businesses to do is to make sure that we have the environment for parents to bring their kids to work and maybe have a play area there for them. Because as a parent, it's difficult. You want to make sure your child is safe and somewhere you can see that they're okay.
That's good.
And they're resilient. They can stay up and wait for you. You don't have to leave them in the house with someone else. If you can't afford it or you don't want to, I think you should take them to work if you could.
Malini, I am super enjoying this Dreamcast with you. You are the real deal. I'm learning right now, honestly. And what an inspiration. Well, it sounds like, again, your top priority of every day is your children, your family,
yes,
and your personal, mental, spiritual, emotional health. I mean, this is the stuff that if businesses, I believe, made an investment into those areas of their employees, they would decrease turnover. They would increase productivity. I think that the numbers would be unfathomable for the amount of money or energy or time that a business invested in. I think that they would get triple back. I just do.
I do. I agree with you because I think, at the end of the day, if their families are happy, they are happy, right? If their wives are happy, if their husbands are happy, if their children are happy, they are happy. Because at the end of the day, you got to go home. And it's not all about, yes, we do need our work because it pays our bills and we have our career path. But when we decide to have a family, they must come first. Otherwise, don't have it because it takes so much time and more time to invest with your family than it does with work. And I'm just a very strong believer of that. And, I'm sure a lot of people say, yes, she'll say that because she can do it. But I really live a very simple life. And I I don't spend money on other things that I don't need. I still clean my own house, right? Because I just think I need to keep myself normalized because I could lose everything tomorrow. And then where do I start? Then it's going to hit you even harder. So you might as well just carry on your life the way you've always lived it.
Well, your life is an inspiration because it shows that you can do those.
Yes, you can. And I think it's important because it keeps your energy balanced. It keeps you balanced. And, spending time with your kids is, what you have them for. Yes, they can drive you bonkers because they never stop talking. but the thing is, and yours will start very soon.
Very soon.
But the joy of watching them just ask you all these questions, and you're thinking, "Oh my God, did I do this to my parent? I guess I did." Oh. But it helps you become young again, and keeps the magic alive. And it's so important to keep the magic alive.
That's good. No, I love that. I have so much hope restored to me right now because, I'm a guy, but even more, I'm very compartmentalized. And sometimes I'm like thinking in my mind, like, can I really cook my meals at night and clean the house or do all these extra activities? Do I just outsource them? And at the end of the day, the fact that you can do all of what you're doing is blowing my mind that you can still cook a meal every night, watch a movie. I mean, you're normal.
Oh, you must do that because it only takes half an hour. So, it's not, it won't take more than that.
That's right. Well, I'm telling you, it's an inspiration. It really is. Well, tell me this. What is one personal trait that you have contributed that you have kind of like a trait that you've embraced that has contributed to your startup success? If you had to just say maybe one that comes to your mind, one trait.
I guess, keeping things simple is very important. And always knowing your employees is the other thing, really understanding them. And hiring people who have the same belief. not belief. When I say belief, I don't mean religion or any of that. I guess the core of wanting to make sure that you have a successful company, but a successful family, and trying to build that together, because that I think that is very important, and it trickles down. So how I value things is how, I would have people around me value things, right? You usually surround yourself with people that you draw to you. So that's why it's very important to have your soul centered, so that, and your energy open, so that whoever you draw to you, you're drawing what you are at that moment. And it's very important to draw the right people.
Yeah, I was telling my wife literally just last night. I said, it's so interesting when I travel, when we go to some of these events or some of these gatherings where individuals will gather, how the right people just come up and start talking to me. It's
Yeah,
like you attract who you are. It's so amazing.
yeah,
And I'm so thankful for it, because I never want to waste time or anyone else's time. And so when you start connecting with the right people, you're just like, man, it's a fresh drink. It's a fresh glass of water to me, for my soul. 'Cause I'm like, wow, that night was worth it.
yeah. And it's because I think your soul is clear. Your center is clear. So you're drawing everything to you that
Yeah.
you're ready for. And it's so important to keep that space clear, because you
Yeah.
manifest everything, right? I'm 100% sure, Daniel, that you've manifested everything in your
Yeah.
journey till today. And sometimes we forget that we do that, because we just on a roll, and it's really important. That's why I do the reflection in the mornings, because it centers me. And then whatever I go forward, I draw to me. And if I'm in a really, mental rut, I don't do anything that day. I take that day off. I don't make any decisions, because I will make the wrong one. And it's okay for me to take a day off. It's okay for me to take a
That's
mental day
good.
off. Life, nothing is going to stop. The deal is not going to go away. In fact, you'll actually have a better solution the next day, and you won't make enemies on that day, because your brain is in a rut.
I like
So
that.
it's very important to know your body and your mind before we walk out the door, and then kind of act accordingly.
So good. Well, I would love to hear this, in your journey.
Yeah.
First thing, I'm taking a lot of notes, and this is like good stuff. This plays into what I'm about to ask you too, is, life, like you said, is a whirlwind. Success is a whirlwind. I would love to hear an experience, a setback, a failure in business or your personal life. Share a story that you've gained, some wisdom or insight on in your personal life.
I think, when the way I look at it is, when the universe gives you certain things, he also gives you a lot of hardship. Because what it does is you, at that time, you don't realize it, but it's teaching you lessons to grow and be a better person, instead of giving it all to you on a plate. And I've had as many successes in the business world, I've had a lot of heartaches in my personal life. So, and I think that, you know, one of my biggest things that I had to learn as I grew up, even in my 40s, is trusting people. And because I'm very open as a person, I tend to draw in a lot of people and then just trust them. And in my personal side of life, and knowing that, those people, when they come in to just take advantage, or you know take from you, or stab you, because you don't do certain things in your life to them or for them, because you stick to a certain moral code, it's very hurtful. And in life,
Yeah.
even in business, when you can trust your closest friends sometimes, and then you wake up one morning and realize that they've taken advantage of you in a really bad way, and that can also turn your world around. And I've had that happen. And but instead of getting angry and cursing, I tend to take a step back and think, okay, why did this happen? And I can't blame the other person, because I allowed this to happen. So what is it that I need to change about myself, so I don't walk through those hot coals again, and redirect the energy so that I can be a better
Right.
person. I know I sound like, one of these guru people, but I really do believe that it's very, very important to really do a lot of reflection, especially when you go through these ups and downs. And nothing
Yeah.
in life is, easy, and nothing is given to you on a plate, right? I think if anybody tells you it's all good and everything's great
Right.
and I've never had a bad thing happen, they are lying. Because in life, I think you need heartache, and it's
Yeah.
okay, and you need pain, and you need losses, and it's okay to lose. It's okay to lose a lot of money. It's okay to, be hurt. It's okay to fail. It's okay to be kicked in the gut, as long as you learn from it. And you be a good person, and still be a good person,
Right.
because don't
That's
change,
good.
because you're supposed to get better, not worse with life.
That's what the Dreamcast is all about, Malini. That's why I'm so excited to have you, is because it's like so many individuals that push make money, build businesses, but they're not even enjoying life. And their life sucks. And
Yeah,
they're not spending time
yeah,
with their kids, and they're not centering themselves. And I love what you're talking. It's all self-evaluation. It's reflection. It's internal engineering. It's architectural design within you of reconnecting yourself to really the essence of, if you had nothing, right? I like to say you came into the world with nothing, you're going to
yes.
leave the world with nothing.
I
So,
agree with you. 100%. Yeah,
right?
that should be the philosophy of life, because it's a journey, and we need to enjoy the journey, right? Because remember one thing, the past is now and the future is about now. So if you don't enjoy the now, how can you go forward? Whatever you make in life now is what's going to transpire tomorrow and a week from now. So instead of spending so much time about, yes, in business, we have to think about, our sales, everything in advance, but you have to connect that with you as a person, and being in the now. You can do all that, but make sure that you be in the present and enjoy that. Just
That's
yesterday,
good.
my daughter, I had to go down. I went to LA over the weekend. It was a spur of the moment, and I'm bringing that up because we got up in the morning, and my husband wanted something dropped off, and so we just said, okay, let's go to LA, and let's just forget about everything. Let's drive down. Let's go do it, and let's come back, right? And it was a spur of the moment, but it was a beautiful journey, because we saw the elephant seals, and she learned from that. We saw dolphins. The mountains were beautiful, and it just refreshed you. And then you come back and you're ready for the week,
That's so good.
and you need to do that. It
Yeah.
doesn't have to be planned. Just go for it, you know.
It's so cool. Well, I
Yes.
want to shift gears for a few more questions, and then ask you some personal questions. But tell me this: you've changed so many people's lives around the globe, and I want to hear like a personal story of someone that impacted you, and that, well, actually, in turn, you impacted them, and in turn, they impacted you. So share with us one of those global stories or one of those domestic stories.
We actually fund a orphanage out in southern India, and one of the stories, I'll tell you a story from there, because in a lot of cases, even today, they don't like little girls because of the dowry system, and in some of the villages, it's still, pretty rampant. We had a we had a mother come and leave a child just, on the cement outside the orphanage, and boggle off. So one morning, the managing director got up and, gave us a call and said, look, there's a child here. We need to, what do we do with this child? We don't know who the mother is. We can't find the parent, but it's been covered, and the child is okay. It's not, because we had to take the kid to the hospital to make sure the kid was okay. And we ended up placing the baby with another family. I guess that really impacted me, because at that time I just had mine, and it tore my insides that someone would do that to a soul that's just coming to the world. And but I also can see the other side of, the trauma of the family,
Wow.
and the cultural hindrances and the layers that go with it. So I can see both sides, but that still doesn't make it right, because this is a helpless soul. but so one of the things that we do is we fund we for people to come and leave their kids there, and they don't have to tell us anything about themselves, so that we could place those kids, or even bring those kids up in the orphanages, so that they would actually have a life, and that they would be someone later on in their life, whether when they get to 2 or 3, that would adopt them. But what it taught me was that we can all be so happy and living in our little places, but these little reality checks tells you that life is just not perfect,
Right.
and that we are lucky where we are born, and that we had a roof over our heads. And there are many kids out there who don't even know, where they're born, or who their parents are, or that their parents want them. It's just really sad.
What a powerful story.
But there's hope, and
Yeah.
yeah, that changed me a lot, especially when you have a child, and just like how you have one now, and to see that it changes you. I mean, before you have children, I think we have a different mindset. And I remember my mother telling me, "You'll change when you have a child. You'll change when you have a child," and she was right, because there's something that goes it clicks off in your brain, a protective instinct, that every child becomes your child. You want to
Right.
protect them.
Right. Well, to me, what's so powerful is, so again, we just hosted this event, and the whole idea was compassion is greater than passion, because compassion is for someone, passion is for something. Compassion is for someone
Yeah.
else, passion is for me. And we talked a lot about writing the stories of someone's future, and a lot of these children, they might be nameless, they might be faceless to you, but they actually have a name. And maybe, and what's the other thing, like you said, they might not have been given a name. They might not even remember their birth date. But the reality is they're just like you and me.
Yeah.
They're Malinis, they're Daniels, they're Johns all around the world that have the potential.
Yes.
They're Steve Jobs that are in India, that are in Malaysia, that
that's right.
have the potential. They just need someone to believe in them.
That's correct.
I'd like to get a little personal shift. So tell me this, what is one of your favorite quotes? Something that you kind of lean on. Maybe it's a quote you've come up with, or someone else has come up with, and you kind of quote it often or tell it to yourself often. What would that be?
I love Winston Churchill. Don't ask me why. And the one quote that I've always lived was never, never, never give up. And I have that on my dressing table, on my post-it, because when I wake up in the morning and I look at that, just never let any hurdles, push you back. Just keep going forward. That's what I live my life by.
So I just logged on to Facebook. I logged on to Facebook today, and I read that as the first quote this morning.
Really?
That is really
Oh,
weird.
wow. That's serendipitous.
I kid you not.
Yes.
That is so cool. Well, it definitely fits your life. You've never given up.
Yes, you mustn't. You mustn't. Until the day you die, you must never give up.
Right. Well, my wife, actually, too, my wife was talking to me this morning. We went out to breakfast, and she goes,
Yeah.
and we were talking about some of the older individuals that were at the diner early in the morning. And she goes, "Hey, are you gonna be like these old guys that kind of just come here and read their coffee?" And I said, "Maybe, but I'm never giving up on the dreams that I have. I am at 80 years old. I am going to continue to build businesses, continue to build people." And she kind of looked at me and she goes,
Yeah.
"Oh no."
No, but it's good. I think because, it evolves. And as you get older, you get wiser. You have more experiences, and you know how to handle different things. And, I'm still growing, and I have the same philosophy as you. I think when I hit my 60s, 70s, and 80s, you've got all this wealth of knowledge that you can recreate and do so many other things, So yes, I think that's
Yeah.
that's a good way
That's
to
the
be.
multiplication.
Yes.
Yeah, that's good. Well, tell me this. What would you do if you could go back and tell your 20-year-old self something? What would you tell yourself?
I guess one thing I would say to myself is just be a little stronger, but otherwise I wouldn't change a thing. Okay, I think I am who I am because of the experiences I've had. And if I didn't go through all that, I wouldn't be me. I wouldn't have the knowledge space that I have. I guess the dings could have been a little less painful, but otherwise it worked out with
Right.
everything else. Everything else, I guess, I can't believe I'm saying this. I should say, no, I want to change things, but I don't think I would, because I think I wouldn't look at life in the simplistic way that I do right now. And I love the space I'm in, to just kind of go with the flow and, take it as it comes, and everything else will sort itself out, because life always sorts itself
Yeah,
out.
be strong and
Yeah.
be yourself, because you've made it this far and you're going to
Yeah.
continue to grow. I like that a lot. That's good. So I want to give you some time to share. You often push the message of hope to women and your belief in them, your unchallenging belief in them. Like, you will not move from that place, and I love that. I want to hear first where that inspiration came from, and then I'll ask you another question of what you'd like to speak to them. But yeah, where did this inspiration come from?
I think my mom, she's a very strong woman. She was a teacher, but there were times that fear would set in, and that would paralyze her. And I really never wanted that to happen. And I would always, even till today, I usually when I talk to her, I say I wish she was a little stronger. I don't want women to let fear take over, because when you let fear take over, you stop believing in yourself, and you think you need someone else to give you an advice or tell you how to do something. We have the knowledge of what our parents have given us, our fathers have given us, our mothers have taught us, our grandmothers have taught us. And you have your normal instincts inside, and to trust that and to go forward, because there's no
That's
better
good.
advisor than your soul telling you what to do. Don't listen to all the noise outside. And the strength for me was that I would really go inside myself and say, no, I need to get to this point. So I can't depend on anybody else, because everyone else will say, no, I'm not going to help you, or no, I'm not going to do this, or why do you want to do this? You should be doing this instead.
Wow. Yeah, you're right.
And I believe, I have a belief, I have a goal, so I'll go that path. If I don't get there, that's fine. Sometimes it evolves into something else, but you've gone on the journey that you want to go on. And as long as you don't hurt anyone else, it's okay. But be strong about it, and never let fear. Fear is the biggest, your worst enemy, actually.
Yeah.
And let fear take over, and then you have all sorts of doubts. And I don't think women should doubt themselves. I think men are taught how to kind of get over that and move forward, and women tend to feel that, oh no, I need to wait for my husband, or I need to wait for my father or my mother. Let me ask my girlfriend for what she thinks, right?
Yeah.
No, if you really believe in something, yes, you can talk about it with others and get advice, but use that advice constructively on your journey. But don't let your fear paralyze you, because it doesn't help.
Yeah.
Because life is difficult and the journey is hard, and sometimes it can feel so overwhelming. But you'll get there.
Yeah.
There's
good.
always a way. There's always a way.
So tell me this, Malini, if you had to say something that would truly encapsulate the message you have for women and what you believe in them and what you believe they need to hear, what would that be?
I think women have been blessed to be multitaskers and to be able to solve problems emotionally in a balanced way, to be able to raise children and also, do the other things that the world has given us. So we need to take the bull by the horns and go forward, and never let any hurdle that comes in front of you be seen so daunting, because you can get through it. And don't let any bullies push you back, because as they push you back, you take your 3 steps forward and keep moving. And that goes from relationships to work environments, because you can do it. And if you have $1 in your wallet and you're thinking, how in the world am I going to make it? You will make it, because if you take a deep breath, clear your mind, you will be able to find a solution to making that $1 into 10.
Yeah.
Because the answers are always with you. You just need to go forward and not let fear take over.
That's so good.
Ever.
It's really good. Well, to end the show, I'd love for you to answer this last question. And I think that really having you on here. You've been such a perfect home run guest for the heartbeat of the Dreamcast. So thank you first. But, what would be the one thing that you believe the world, this is again, this is like a guru question maybe, but I think at the same time, like you said, the answer is within us, and I really believe you're going to have a great one for this. But what's the thing that the world is lacking that you believe would solve many problems if we just began to live that out?
I think we should, one, respect others for their differences, because we are not all the same. And two, really, start communicating and not telling people what to do, but asking them, how do you want us to do this? Because I think we'll solve a lot of our issues. Having lived in Asia over the last, 12 odd years, I've realized that they're a very tribal society, and the way they handle things are very different. And I've learned a lot about that. And I guess a lot of my looking at life and solving issues have come from that, from the way they solve things. And I think it's very important to ask rather than tell. And don't get involved, let people do their own thing. Because, at the end of the day, we don't have to control everyone. As long as you control your own space and do your own thing, you're okay. But you don't need to control everybody else, because they'll find a way. They'll fight and they'll sort it out.
Gosh, that's good.
It's not our problem, because they've been doing it for thousands of years, and they will continue to do it. Just let it go. It's a phase. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know it sounds so broad, but it's very true.
Well, Malini, it's not though. It's not. To me, it's not.
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy how we can't control anyone. We can only control ourselves. And what you just said is the heartbeat of servanthood is it's not about the man on the stage. This is what you're supposed to do. It's, hey, what do you think? It's not having to be the solution machine. It's being able to bring everyone into the solution and let them be a part of it. Like, that will change everything if people just implement that one thing you just said.
Yeah, I do believe that strongly, because we don't need to give solutions for everything, because sometimes people just want to talk and just listen.
Yep.
Don't give them an answer. They'll sort it out themselves.
That's good. That's really good. Well, Malini, thank you so much for being on the Dreamcast. Really appreciate you taking time.
Oh, it was wonderful, Daniel. I thank you very much for hosting me, and I really enjoyed talking to you.
You've just listened to Malini Saba, one of the greatest and most influential businesswomen in the entire world. Today, she is the head of Sabin Group of Industries. She moved to the United States at the age of 19 with only $200 in her pocket. Her investment career began as a Silicon Valley venture capitalist during the 90s, with experience investing in more than 20 technology companies. Her nonprofit, Street, is aimed at changing the way low-income and at-risk women and children worldwide see themselves and their roles in society. And they have been changing lives around the world for over 15 years. Street has helped 3 million women since its start in 2001. And Malini is no stranger to giving, pledging $10 million to tsunami victims in India and Sri Lanka, and donating $1 million to help start the world's first heart research center for South Asians in California. She is changing the world, empowering one woman at a time. My name is Daniel Budzinski. For everyone listening, if you have a dream but don't know where to begin, then start your journey with me at danielbudzinski.com. And if you've enjoyed the Dreamcast, then please subscribe to receive weekly updates on each podcast released. If you've had a good experience, then please leave us a review on iTunes. And remember, if you have a friend or family that has a dream but don't know where to begin, then share and invite them to listen to the show, because dreams are worth living, and the first step starts today. Thank you for listening to the Dreamcast. Your future is valuable, so don't forget to invest into your dream every day with us. I hope the Dreamcast has inspired you to become the greatest version of yourself. I would be honored if you would help the Dreamcast grow. One of the best ways to do this is by leaving us a review on iTunes. Subscribe to hear more powerful interviews and podcasts to come. Until then, keep dreaming big.